Hello, my name is JulieAnn Thomas, and I am going to be presenting today, May the Odds Be Ever in Your Favor, Exploring Gender in the American Patriot Games. This is a proposed study, as the events have not happened yet, and I have not done thorough research, so please accept this as a proposed study. All right, so I'm going to discuss with you what are the Patriot Games, Trump in sport, methodology that I have been using, looking at media discourse from the right, left, and center, looking at the fictional Hunger Games, looking at potential queries for this study, and discussing it with you. So on December 18th, 2025, President Trump said, "In the fall, we will host the first ever Patriot Games, an unprecedented 4-day athletic event featuring the greatest high school athletes, young man and one young woman from each state and territory. But I promise there will be no men playing in women's sports. You're not going to see that. You'll see everything but that." And as a gender scholar myself, I have been piqued by that clearly gendered narrative that he is already starting this off with. And so I wanted to study what are these games going to look like, and what is this going to tell us about gender. According to the Freedom 250 website, the Patriot Games are going to be the first of its kind. They use a lot of neighbors and friends, inclusive language. They want to spotlight male and female high school athletes and light the torch. So evoking a lot of inclusive and tying it to the torch like the Olympic Games. So these are the kind of words that they use in the description. Details have been really hard to come by regarding the Patriot Games. Fortunately, CNN posted an article on February 5th with slightly more details, but those have not been corroborated by other news sources, so I'm kind of hesitant to fully rely on these. It says teen competitors will be matched with celebrity coaches. The athletic ability will not only be the only factor for eligibility, instead they will also submit an online video application responding to prompts explaining why these people want to be chosen to represent their state and territory. And this all will be chaired by Robert F. Kennedy, the Director of Health and Human Services. So already we've seen Trump in his sport policy. The first day he proclaimed keeping men out of women's sports, so against transgender women participating in women's sports. There was a lot of drama with the U.S. hockey team where he said that he would, of course, have to invite the women now that the men won too. But if he didn't invite them, he would be impeached. He's brought back the presidential physical fitness test, and he's proposed a UFC match of only men fighting on June 14th in the White House lawn. So he's been very active in using sport to further his own agenda and to further promote his own branding. So my questions are, firstly, what is the administration telling us about their views on gender through the Patriot Games? And seeing as those have not happened yet and very few details have emerged, my secondary research question is, what is the discourse surrounding the Patriot Games for the purpose of this discussion? To analyze those things, I have set a Google alert for Patriot Games. Sometimes it's pretty helpful, sometimes it's not. Most of the time not. With a Patriot Games movie coming out and a separate sport conference in the Northeast called the Patriot Games, so it's not always great. I have also cross-referenced news outlets, sport magazines, the whitehouse.gov website, and the freedom250.org, and still many details have not been forthcoming. In order to analyze the right, left, center leanings of these, I have utilized both Ad Fontes and allsides.org to kind of cross-reference and double-check that I am correctly categorizing these organizations. I am also possibly considering a potential digital ethnography on Reddit or X if I need additional discourse to examine. So as of right now, immediately, news outlets were eager to respond to this new proposal by President Trump. So he proposed this on the December 18th. Fox News and Daily Wire responded fairly quickly. Daily Wire focusing on positive things, positive traits and aspects that these games could promote, such as excellence, patriotism, and fair competition. They say it will be historically and culturally significant, and it will be a way for President Trump to continue his agenda of protecting women's sports. Fox News delved into further looking into Freedom 250, which is the new public-private partnership in charge of all of the Freedom 250 events. And they say that these events will renew the patriotism, pride, and pioneering spirit of America. Great alliteration there. Moving to the center of the media discourse, Forbes was very curious about this proposed event, said it was another out there Trump idea, like the monument in D.C., the Arch, the large-scale state fair, but also kind of strange, like the military parade and the continued ballroom construction. They were curious about the lack of details, but did cite a similarity to the fictional dystopian series The Hunger Games. Sports Illustrated was highly encouraging and positive about this. They talked that the overall online response was a lot of support and encouragement. They praised such an event happening, saying it would be helpful for both the athletes and truly unifying the country and be beneficial in several different ways. Moving on to more left-leaning media, Time magazine wondered if this was a dystopian book plot, like the Hunger Games, or was it going to be a U.S. government-sanctioned event? It didn't seem exactly consistent with what has been done in the past. But they also connected it to the religious aspects of Freedom 250 and the prayer breakfast and the rededication services that are going to happen in late May. So they had connected that. Whereas Independent, even as frequently as May 5th, was wondering, is this event still happening? Because no events details have been released, no events, the method of choosing the athletes, those kind of things had not happened as of yet. And they cited the Democrats' Twitter post that was done on the first day that it was announced, harkening back to the Hunger Games novel. You can see the parallels quite easily. And so it was decreed that each year, various districts of Panem would offer up in tribute one young man and woman to fight to the death in a pageant of honor, courage, and sacrifice. So let's look at the Hunger Games. It is a series by Suzanne Collins, originally published in 2008 and beyond, and there have been an original trilogy and some prequels as well. It is set in Panem, which is a dystopian America. You can see quite a lot of parallels. It is formed by 13 districts that are very poor and portrayed, you can see in the picture, by very drab colors. You can see the two tributes from District 12 flanking a Capitol light in the center, and she's brightly colored dressed, and they're very fluent, and all of the districts go to serve the Capitol. And in this fictional series, one boy and one girl from each district are chosen to fight to the death in televised events, and this happens every year. And this is seen as both control by the Capitol over the districts and also spectacle. And it gets bigger and bigger every year with betting, a beauty pageant, interaction. People can send in gifts to the tributes while they're in the arena. And the murderer, the final tribute left, is turned into a celebrity. So it is a very entertainment focused, and the spectacle of it is grand. But it did grow from being simply punishment and control to this big spectacle. And the Hunger Games were meant to enforce obedience by the districts to the Capitol, and it also enforced strict gender roles as well. And what makes Katniss and Peeta, the two characters you see in the photo above, their story is so powerful is because their gender roles are largely reversed. And Katniss is the hunter, and Peeta is the caring baker. It's a great series. I recommend it highly. But in these Hunger Games, hostility is encouraged, and cruelty is seen as patriotism, and violence is normalized. And so each district and their tributes, and even their tributes solitarily, are fighting against everyone else in the arena. And while the book and the movies highlight class and nation as being the main characteristics of oppression, but you see quite clearly that gender, race, and sexuality are also ways for the capital to oppress its citizens. Also curious in this, I find that the Hunger Games are set in autumn, tied to Thanksgiving, and in the arena when they're fighting, there's a literal cornucopia in the center that serves as the way that they resource food and weapons. So going back to my potential study, these Patriot Games, some questions that I am wondering about. Which sports will be involved? Will they be the same for boys and girls? Who is going to participate? Who is going to plan these events? What will the prizes be? Will they be for the individual winners themselves? Will they be for the great state and territory? Lots of questions. And what, in the end, will the narratives be about these? So my question is, what is being said about sport, and what does it tell us about gender in the United States in our current moment? We see copycat games in Ohio. One town in Ohio wants to do their own Patriot Games. So to make sense of these games, I'm going to utilize multiple theories and combine them kind of all together in what I hope a way that makes sense. So I see that nation and gender are both performed in certain ways, and so how these athletes are chosen will tell us what our ideals are about how nation and gender are supposed to be formed. Foucault teaches us about biopower and how power shapes the bodies, and how these things fall into the broader plan to shape the American population. I'm going to utilize Foucault's discourse analysis to see what is said and what is unsaid. And by the lack of details about these events and the lack of transparency about them, I argue leaves room for the specter of fascism to come in. A lot of sport is tied to fascist ideals, and so there are lots of questions that I have about what will these games actually tell us. I would like to utilize the feminist anti-fascism lens, understanding that these are not global, or these are not isolated occurrences, but a struggle over gender becomes a proxy for the struggle over democracy, belonging, and sovereignty, in the words of Sethi. So those are my proposed lenses that I'm going to use. And my current findings suggest the vagueness of the official positions on the Patriot Games leaves lots of room for ambiguity and for the specter of fascism to emerge. Perhaps this will be changed in the future, but at the moment, that's what I'm seeing. And while some view this as a positive event with the potential to unite the country and to benefit individual athletes, certainly possible, others see the connection to a possible potential dystopian future and strictly defined gender roles. At a time of economic hardship for many, this could be seen by some as a spectacle, a circus to distract from inefficient policies and daily difficulties. I find it ironic that the name Panem harkens to the Roman Panem, its circuses, where Roman politicians would distract and pacify their citizens by providing bread and circuses, entertainment. So I think that the Hunger Games is an apt potential comparison to these Patriot Games. So again, thank you so much for your time and attention today. I really have appreciated this chance to explore something slightly outside my comfort zone, where I normally explore football fandom in the UK and the gendered natures of fandom. This has been an interesting exploration. So if you have any potential suggestions and comments and feedback, if you have any articles that I may have missed, again, I am an independent scholar, so I appreciate any resources that you can send my way. So thank you again so very much. You can see my name and email address. Thank you for the opportunity.